Today, we become legends.
Alright boys, welcome back to the channel. 10.4 bonus update notes have dropped. They're going to be going live tomorrow, May 2nd. And I'm going to be doing a quick review here. I've had a quick look over the patch notes and they look to be some really good changes here. I'm very happy with this patch on like a brief skim, but I'm going to go more in depth when I review them here. So yeah, let's just jump right in. So a couple of new skins, Medusa and Calmazots, they're both from the whole Reborn event if you're interested in those. But moving on to the item changes, Envenom Deathbringer is getting a bug fix where its healing reduction is supposed to be 40% and it was 35%, so that's technically a buff, but more so like a bug fix to bring it in line with other healing reduction items. Deathbringer and Malicious Deathbringer, because Envenomed is down here, right? So, decrease the physical power from 50 to 40 on all variants of Deathbringer, and also Envenomed Deathbringer, they've removed the slow on the passive, so it does one less thing now. It was doing like 4 different things. Now it does one less thing. Pretty good, I suppose. Definitely a good change overall. Wind Demon though, or Demon Blade, I suppose, decrease the power by 5, decrease the attack speed by 5%, and decrease the bonus attack speed on the passive by 5% as well. This is really good. I feel like they're kind of recognizing the fact that having high attack speed on crit items kind of breaks the fundamental trade-off of crit versus like kin-size shred builds. If you can just get almost capped attack speed with crit, why would you not build crit, especially when you can just build a 100% crit chance in the current meta? These are some heavy nerfs, which I think is absolutely justified. Demon Blade's a completely insane item, but 5 power off, and effectively, because you always have 100% crit, this was always active, so 10% attack speed off as well. It's now going to be giving 25% attack speed instead of 35, which, to be honest, 25 is still really good, especially for a crit item, so I don't think the item's dead by any means, but 35% attack speed was far too much that this was giving, so definitely happy to see these nerfs. Going to help a lot with taking down crit builds, which obviously crit is just insanely good right now. It's meta on every ADC that can build it, and also a lot of junglers that weren't previously building crit are now building crit, like Vamana and Arachne and stuff like that. Moving on to Bladed Boomerang, which is a less good change in my opinion. They've decreased the movement speed from 4% per stack to 2%. 12% movement speed was a lot, and I am happy with the change. However, I feel like they could have also taken some of the attack speed, or maybe some of the crit off of the item. Maybe they didn't want to reduce the attack speed on both of these because they are built in the same build, and if you take 10% off this and like 10% off this, it might be like a bit too much. For me personally, I don't think that would be too much at all. Attack speed shouldn't be in this high amounts on crit items in my opinion, so I would have liked to see them take the attack speed down on this by like 5 or 10% or something like that. That's the main problem with crit at the moment, the fact that you can still get to near cap attack speed with all these other stats and effects that they all have. I guess Envenom Deathbringer has one less effect now, but still. Decent change, I guess, but I would have liked to see a little bit more done to Bladed Boomerang, to be honest. But overall, I think a combination of these nerfs, because obviously the meta build was all 3 of these items in one build, so effectively this is like a triple nerf to that build, so I think it will do a lot in terms of bringing crit down, especially for hunters. So overall, very good changes on like the crit direction. I think this is good. It's a good starting point. They could maybe look at it again in like the main 10.5 update notes or something like that, but I think this is definitely really good, especially for a bonus balance. I'm very happy with these crit changes overall. Bloodforge gets nerfed down 10 more power and decreased movement speed on the passive. I don't know about this change. I always liked the fact that Bloodforge was a super high power item. I think if anything, just take the attack speed off of it. Or like maybe some lifesteal or something like that, or the movement speed. I always liked the fact that Bloodforge was like a high power, like I'm going for big kills kind of item. Now that it has 55 power, that's not even that much, to be honest, right? Also, Bloodforge was already kind of being replaced in the ADC role by Devos, so this isn't really like, you know, after they nerfed it last patch, Bloodforge was kind of falling out a little bit in terms of like the first item slot for hunters. People are going Devos a little bit more now. So I don't know if this was really that necessary, but I'm not opposed to it. Bloodforge is a really strong item, or at least was a really strong item in its current state. Now it'll probably just be pretty decent. But if you haven't swapped over to Devos for your ADC builds, I think you should now. Devos is definitely going to be better than Bloodforge, just like a first item rush now. Bloodforge will of course still be faster, but Devos is going to outtrade it massively with that 15 flat pen and stuff like that, so I think you should probably switch to Devos for your first item hunter builds now. Hydra's nerf, 5% on the passive, probably not necessary, but I suppose Hydra's is a good item, has a lot of good stats on it. I don't necessarily hate to see this. Maybe I'll get destroyed a little bit less by Susanos in my ranked games, hopefully. But moving on to some of the mage changes, of course, the current meta is basically dominated by crit hunters and some crit junglers and mages with some of these insane items that we're seeing down here. So hopefully with these changes, we can shift the meta a little bit. They've decreased the base power on Doomor from 145 to 130, which is definitely a good change. I think, to be honest, I don't know why this item has percent pen on it. I don't think it should have percent pen on it, and I would have rather see them just remove that, but I guess they added that recently, so they don't want to just directly go back on a change they made, so they reduced the power instead. Definitely good to see Doom Orb nerfs. It's of course the meta right now for almost every single mid lane mage. You just go Doom Orb into Deso/Divine Ruin, and Deso's also getting 10 power off of it as well, so for those builds where you're rushing Doom Orb and Deso, you're going to have 35 less power once you have those two items online. It will make a difference. With the nerfs to the book items last patch, which in my opinion were a bit behind the times, and I don't think they were even needed, these will still be better. This is still going to be the meta, I think. I don't think it's going to change the overall meta. What have they done to Tahuti? 10 power and also some damage. Yeah, so you're not going to be... I was thinking maybe you would just go Tahuti instead of Doom Orb in first slot. People are already sometimes doing that, but they've nerfed Tahuti down by like a similar amount. The Doom Orb nerf is... But yeah, they've nerfed Tahuti down by like a similar amount. So to be honest, I don't think this will change much in regards to the meta. I think the meta will still be Doom Orb into Deso/Divine and then probably Tahuti after that. But it will just make those builds a little bit less potent when you have these three items online. They were giving so much power. I mean, what is that? 15, 10, 10. So that's an overall 35 power decrease. That's pretty substantial. Spear of the Magus as well, obviously a very popular item right now. These four items are practically the mage meta in a nutshell in the current patch. And so they're decreasing the damage passive debuff from Spear of the Magus from 9% to 5%. I don't like that change too much. I think it's kind of cool that the item had that identity of being like a huge big damage after you've hit something. I think that was kind of cool. I'd rather see them take down something else on the item, to be honest. But I guess they didn't want to just take power off of it, because that's what they've done for all of these, and just taking power off of like every single mage item might just seem like a little bit ridiculous. So I guess I kind of understand it, but I think they could have changed something else about the item with this, to be honest. I kind of like that it had like that identity of being the passive, like amplifying your damage after you hit something. But yeah, item changes overall, very good. Bloodforge change, not a huge fan of. Hydra's changes, whatever, but the crit changes and the mage changes, of course, the meta is just this right now, and so I don't think the mage meta will change very much. The ADC meta, I think it's too early to say. These are pretty heavy-handed nerfs, but crit is so good that I think crit still might be the meta here. It'll be tough to say. We'll have to see how the patch plays out, but yeah, these are some pretty substantial nerfs. I'm definitely happy with this. But moving on to god changes, we have some more Afro nerfs to Kiss. And of course, the main reason Aphrodite is so strong right now is that protection share and the jealousy damage buff, and they've hit both of those down. This is probably where it should have been. After last patch, they nerfed it down from 20 to 15, and I said in those patch notes it should probably be 10, and I think 10 is a reasonable place for it. You know, if you're at like 300 of each procs, which is completely reasonable to get to in a support Afro build, you're giving 30, which is just like a very good aura item. I think that's absolutely fine at 10%. And then the jealousy damage debuff down from 5 down to 5 to 15. Good changes, very good changes. I think these are smart nerfs. They're not going to completely kill the character, but I think she will now be just pretty strong. She's not going to be completely broken anymore, I don't think. She was already falling off a little bit, but yeah, definitely. I think these are perfect nerfs, if I'm going to be honest with you, because they've already nerfed the CDR on the Lovebirds, which was like the other major big problem. I think obviously it's Afro, she's still going to be frustrating, but she's not going to be completely broken and frustrating at the same time. Now she's just going to be decent and playable, but obviously still being frustrating because it's Afro. She always will be unless they rework her, which they're not going to, so we're just going to have to deal with that. But it's much more easy to deal with when she's not in every single game and she's not the best god in the game, which she definitely won't be anymore. These nerfs are really solid. I'm very happy with that. Matika's getting some nerfs. It took a while for everyone to realize how strong he was, but yeah, he's absolutely been dominating. When you build an ability base, he hits so hard. They've decreased the movement speed from his grass by 5% at each rank. I don't think that's really the major problem with him, to be honest. Don't really understand this change. Maybe some Matika's mains can correct me if that's actually like a big deal. Decrease the protection shred from 5% to 4% per stack on his ultimate. Yeah, definitely a good change. Obviously, it still hits way too hard. I think they should have also nerfed the base damage on it a little bit. The power scaling is also high, but the base damage is just absolutely ridiculous, and this ability hits way too hard, and I'm not sure decreasing the shred by 1% per stack is really going to stop it doing what it's doing right now. I would have liked to have seen a base damage nerf as well, but I guess he's new. They don't want to completely nerf him into irrelevance immediately. I kind of get that, but yeah, I would have liked to have seen an additional damage nerf on this. But yeah, overall, excellent patch. Matika's changes like 8 out of 10. Aphrodite changes 10 out of 10. This is exactly the amount I would have nerfed her by, I think. You don't want to go too much more than this, or she'll just go back into irrelevance. And you don't want to do less than this because she's very frustrating and you don't want her being on top of the meta. Magus changes, whatever, like 5 out of 10, not a huge fan of that. Rod Tahuti change is great. Spear of Deso change is fine. Maybe could have even taken some of the CDR off the passive, potentially. Doom Orb change is fine, but again, I would like to have seen the percent pen removed, but they're not going to do that because they just added it. Hydra's change, I don't really understand, but it's fine. Bloodforge change, I think, is a bit late. We're already seeing the meta kind of shift away from Bloodforge, at least in the ADC role. It's obviously still going to be very good on auto-attacking junglers and even ability-based junglers. And then the crit changes are really, really good as well. Bladed, I would have liked to seen some different changes, but Demon Blade changes are pretty much perfect in my opinion. Maybe even 10% base attack speed on the item, because you shouldn't have this much attack speed on crit items. You just shouldn't. And then in Venom Deathbringer, they removed one of the effects, which is nice, taking the power down a little bit, which is good as well. Yeah, overall, really excellent patch. I think the overall rating for this patch is like 8.5, 9 out of 10. This is just what a bonus update should do. Address the meta in a very condensed and concise way. Address the major problems of crit, mage items, Afro, Massacreus as well. Circuit, still an issue, but they're not going to immediately nerf it in the bonus balance. I feel like we'll have to wait until next patch to potentially get some Circuit nerfs. Maybe they'll lower the crit chance a little bit, like 20% at max rank or something, or maybe just like nerf her in other aspects of her kit, maybe the base damage of Deathbane or something like that. But yeah, they're not going to immediately nerf Circuit like directly after, not even one patch after they gave her that buff, so it's understandable. Yeah, great patch. Let me know what you guys think down below. Just thought I'd give you guys a quick update on my thoughts on this, because it's a really excellent patch in my opinion, and I will catch you guys in another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.